from the Commonwealth of Virginia here in the United States to whatever state you yourself might be in. I'm Sean William Joseph Harrington, coming at you with the willpower of the forest here. I was listening to a number of different talks. I had Teal Swan and somebody Khan and my usual Terence McKenna. If you guys know me, I'm always listening to Terence McKenna, and I wanted to note the contrast sort of between the self-help, I see you, I know what you're going through, I have these words prepared to say, that in a sober way you can sort of extremely change with control your spiritual journey. And I think that's a fantastic organization, but gutturally I couldn't help but notice the contrast between that and Terence McKenna's Selfless sort of ordination of not even ascribing to be a spiritual master or anything, just aspiring to say, hey, I'm just some guy who writes some books about all this stuff, and I talk about it in a very selfless way, and how he was very much never acknowledging in the atomical sense, one being or another being, but more so just saying, this is what's happening, and we are here experiencing it. How do we assert ourselves as meaning and purpose? So on the stage of life, we're all performers here, but truly when we get on the stage, we transform into it, the thatness of isness, of ofness, of ourness, that we sort of harness the stage. It's just like the sun shining in the center of the universe. You don't see anything else, around or behind the sun in the middle of the day, because the sun is simply it, brilliantly. And the physiological just shooting out. It's impossible. It's that, I suppose, said that it eclipses anything behind it. Naturally, that relates to us being beings of illumination. Illuminating for each other what truths we might be eclipsing. So I really like to talk about this sort of sharing is caring, and how as soon as we graduate from kindergarten, we understand that wherever we go, if somebody doesn't have a lunch, the compassion arises from emptiness. And this is the sort of one school of thought that really, one school of thinking that really obliterates all schools of thought, because really what we have in life is this sort of speaker and receiver, and this space of languid living communication, this dynamic season-charged place. And it's not exactly easy to say. I thought that there would be another contrasting, thing about schools of thought and schools of thinking. And I think I was thinking about what I was thinking about last night, in that all of these schools of thinking about telling each other, hey, I see what you're going through, I'm here with you, I have the ability to tell you, in a sober way, how to soberly, use these, I call them exochemical, I'm not sure if that's an appropriate word. I have a way to tell you how to adjust your behavior and your thinking and your situation to your situation in a way so that as the cold wind blows around you, you can fluidly be yourself in a sort of liberated, more aligned way with your beginner or your learner self. So that's sort of like a really powerful contrast, the isness of witness. Usually when I do get on stage in the knowing that I am sort of able to portray to the people anything that they want to hear, anything that they want to learn. I try and say things so that they know that they're already helping from where they are, because I think the more that you have to teach, the more you should teach. The more you have to give, you should give. It's just the way of energy diffusion naturally. So I get on stage and I say that it is, I get into the spirit of the jesting spirit of doing anything. I'll sing a song, perhaps. But it's really, so that coming away from the experience, it's not that they care about the song, it's that they care about, like, what truths it illuminated in them, what it made them feel. And the songs I'm on my way to the lake today to sing hopefully be about feeling what's real. And the realness that I like to transmute to people is like, hey, like, I see you in regards to everything you've ever been through. I know that if I was incarnated in your position, I would be similarly able to prevail against all the schemes and the institutions you were born into as you yourself, and I would have turned out as you yourself. I think that's enlightenment, and I think one of the nicest ways to acknowledge that enlightened being is not to tell them what they were born of, or how they got enlightened, or how they'll ascend from enlightenedness. Is I'm sort of leading by example, preaching when I preach. I think the nicest thing to say is, you're a plant, fungi, and animal spirit. That was sort of the love of giving that the plant kingdom offers is something that we channel and embody. The the joy of receiving is what the fungal, the perpetual child, the fungal kingdom is embodiment of receiving and perceiving, and the animal kingdom is the fun to take, the thrill of the kill, and sort of in a collusion and combination of these three kingdoms we find our way, balancing beauty, aligned with true love. We find absolute beauty, and we are also on our graceful way to merciless truth, and that sort of enlightenment. Oh gosh, the forest is just coming alive. And it's February. Jeez. So yeah, all that super enlightened stuff. Three kingdoms. The illumination. I don't know, I guess I could say that we're born of belief, and as children we find our way into feeling and knowing, and then from knowing and feeling we find enlightenment. We find that everybody's in knowing and feeling and believing, so there's this ecstatic joy of that, and from understanding all the different archetypes that are aligned in enlightenment, the synergistic serendipitous serenity of synchronicity allows us to interrelate with all those other beings. And sometimes you could understand all of them to the point that you love them so much that you are all of them, or in light of all of them, and also you yourself will be the definition of essentially the illumination of ascension, I guess. It'd be redundant to say that enlightened being would be enlightened. Quartz is an amazing stuff. Quartz. So yeah, I mean, most of what I wanted to delineate today is that whatever anybody else is doing is totally fantastic. It's just that, I really think that there's more out there sort of besides me. I very much believe that it's us, because, the truth is that you are feeling what you're going through, but, it's true that a direction has already been chosen, and that another direction may be chosen based on the notion that we can choose a direction, and we can operate on our gut balances and say, okay, direction has been chosen. I will go in this direction, and everyone is born into that direction, very intuitively perfect, and in the same way we'll sort of die into that perfection that we were born from, into the undying space, taking our trash with us and sharing the story. And I think what people are feeling is that, even though we take death to mean nothing and life to mean everything. It's that people do gutturally know that they'll take their stories with them to the other side, and I don't think people really truly do value death as nothing and life as everything. I think that we value death as everything, and life as whatever, something we can make it, and we want to make sure that as we are on our way, traveling, journeying to the other side, that we do write our journeys here together in the way that they might be written, in the best potential way, because all is known. We do know everything, and from the everything that we know that we're all here. And the strongest action of or reflex of togetherness is manifest destiny, which is ironically, the military-industrial economy sort of being a perpetuation of the profits and the products that we don't need. The schools of thought from academia, have harnessed these technologies that are, essentially obsolete because as we've invented them, we never use, the asteroid-busting nukes that are out there. And so it's really funny how all of these symptoms and symbols and institutions are sort of making themselves obsolete because the only thing that's here is us, in the balancing of the kingdoms and in the illuminations of each other, and the alignment and the delineation of what is to be done, as we are in light of not only ourselves but each other. It's very silly that there's all these static prophets and things, and when all we have is a dynamic languid field of the speaker and the listener. If I could say to you, don't do anything, and you would already be finding yourself doing something. It's impossible to do nothing. It's an incredible organic space. Just to be in the nothing space is nearly impossible, because the nothing space itself is a very dynamic thing. And so you find yourself as everything, then you'll know that you can do anything. But it doesn't mean that the anything that you're doing isn't, the perfect certain something that will lead you on the path to your everything. So there's a sort of really, it's really, sort of hair-raising and harebrained to talk about cultivating greenhouses and permaculture and migration for all the people, but when you align yourself with speaking out about, the light of each other and what is to be done in the regard of all is known, it's very much that in the synergistic serendipity of synchronistic serenity, we are all the deans of our universities, and we all are simply absorbing universal information here. We're traveling at light speed and transmitting, all of this. I think it's very important to, if you are going to be conscious of aligning yourself with the dimensions of life that you're passing through. And it's very important to understand what it is that you're doing, and I think that it's the Merlin effect. I think that we're all sort of the imagination of each other, projecting characteristics to say, this is me, this is who I am, and who I am is all that we all are. Knowing that everybody has a here-ness and a there-ness and a me-ness and a you-ness to that there-ness and the here-ness, to sort of go Super Saiyan through. As I feel like I'm 1,000 degrees. I'm speaking to you from the volcano archetype, and it's like 30 degrees out here, and whatever blessings of divinity. I'm really talking about the synergy of human interaction, and that what we have is abundance, but what we've been led into is sort of the scarcity sort of mindset and paradigm. What we have is having. We have ourselves having it. The metaphysical experiencing of the material world should be, not a naive thing, but, we should be, the amount of growth that we go through should be the profit, not the amount of growth that the economy goes through some some whatever else in the have-ness of are-ness, of is-ness, of ofness. There is an incredible metaphysical, prepositional, energetic story matrix mainframe to work through here, and it's really something else, and it always will be. It is the something else. It's that. I don't know. I like to refer to the undying space of death as like a YouTube or something, but this is, the altogether aloneness. It's that I don't have anybody else here, but what I'm expressing is that I'm here with you, even though you're not in the moment actually someone that I can look at. That there's sort of this local vision of this that I'm using, but then there's also this mental imagination that can be tuned into, so that we can be local and non-local, rational and irrational, linear and non-linear. We are the angels of acquisition, of appointment, of anointment, of we are the angels is the line, and whether you prefer light or color. We are all of everything. It's that as I stand here in the cold and start to realize exactly, what I am going through, is that, these are my woods, and I used to run, training for a marathon, I used to run until the sun went down. So I gaze at the sunlight. That's when I found my own spiritual enlightenment from. So I know that I'm in the sunlight, I'm in the wind, I know that there's an incredible amount of love around me. So I think that that's what people have been led away from, this notion of there's only so much love that you can buy or whatever. The amount of love is based on the amount of love that you care to recapitulate, to recognize, that there is nothing that we aren't. There's everything around us is a dimension of the divine, and that there's nothing that isn't divine. And as scintilla of everything, I think that we should inordinately ordinate, all of the divineness that is to be orchestrated like an orca whale. So I do believe that we are born from sameness into, the evolution of capitulating difference. So I think that we should all be celebrating the differences of each other as we go along our way. The wonderful wayness that is journeying and learning, naturally loving, and from our lowness to our highness. Your Majesty, you're absolutely magnificent, majestic. Matter models may reign supreme only in freedom, aligned with true love, fiercest of graceful beauties, and of course the magnificence of majesty. And the truthiness of anything that you go through is, very much so part of your story. So, thanks for listening, and love you very much. And it is cold out here, and I am ready for spring.